didn't. Yeah. I didn't think it's gonna be this big, did you? No?
The title of this video is Where Are Danny and Wendy? And that question might seem obvious, but when you realize there are some really odd things going on with the maze in The Shining, suddenly the obvious answer isn't so obvious. And since I've never seen anyone else do a video specifically just about the maze in The Shining, I figured it was time for me to do it. First, let's actually look at a diagram of the maze map. You'll notice there's about 6 rows on either side, depending on how you're counting, and it has that center area in the middle. But now look at this overhead shot of Danny and Wendy in the maze. It's much larger. There's at least a dozen rows on each side, and we can't even see the edges. How far does it go on? This isn't the same maze that's shown in the map. Now, here's a map of the maze that is actually out in front of the maze in several scenes in the film. You can see it in that box. And here's Danny and Wendy actually in the maze. You can see them in the center, but this is much larger than that map we just saw. Again, here's that map that sits in front of the maze at the overlook. And here's the maze Danny and Wendy are actually in. This maze is so obviously different from the map in front of the overlook that we have to ask the question, where are Danny and Wendy? Because it's not the maze shown on the map or even the 3D model shown in the table that Jack is staring at. Looking down at Danny and Wendy in the middle of this large maze almost feels like they are caught in a large spider's web. It seems to go on forever, and in fact, we never see the actual edges of it in these overhead shots.
Beautiful? Yeah.
The only time we see the edge is when Wendy or Danny enter or exit the maze, as seen here. So it's odd. We have Wendy and Danny in a large maze, looking very small, almost as if they're caught in a spider's web. And maybe that's the point. They are in danger, and the set design of the maze conveys that in an unconventional way. But a lot of the sets of The Shining are odd, don't make sense, and as I said before in my video about the red bathroom, the sets are designed that way on purpose, to affect the viewer on a subconscious or subliminal level. Again, this is starting to feel like a surrealist film. Another odd detail about the maze is the fact that the entrance actually shifts in different scenes. It's not in the same place. Don't believe me? Look at this shot of Jack. He's about to walk over and enter the maze with an axe. The Overlook Motel is directly across from the entrance in this shot, but it isn't in other shots. But look at this shot of the maze from earlier in the film. There's the entrance to the maze, but the hotel is off to the left-hand side. It's not directly across from the Overlook. So the entrance to the maze has shifted in between these two scenes. But why? Well, a story from the set might explain part of the reason. Supposedly, at the time the maze scenes were being shot, Stanley may have changed the maze layout between shots to the point that the crew themselves sometimes got lost in the maze. Actually, looking at the maze in more detail, I'm even further convinced that the maze itself is almost like a set from a warped fairy tale. The foggy nighttime scenes here definitely give the feel of some sort of gothic fairy tale. An even more strange coincidence is Shelley Duvall once hosted a show called Fairy Tale Theater in the early 80s. Here she is also starring in the episode Rumpelstiltskin, in which a young child is also in danger. Well, to sum up, The Maze in The Shining is another set that doesn't quite make sense. Since the map and model we're shown on screen are totally different than the maze we actually see Wendy and Danny in later, and it has an entrance that seems to move in time, echoing other timeline weirdness in The Shining, such as the decor in the red bathroom. The maze seems to operate on fairy tale rules, or even a video game, where landscapes can morph and change, so you won't always be sure of the ground underneath your feet. It actually makes Danny and Wendy even more vulnerable in an already difficult situation. And this seems to be the point. Danny and Wendy are actually in a gothic fairy tale every time they're in the maze, but the danger is very real. Well, that's my video for today. Hope you liked it. I'm definitely working on some more, but with Halloween coming up, I thought my next video might be a little different, maybe something more Halloween themed, um, just for fun. Also, here's a trivia question for you. Can you name this painting that's on the wall behind Jack here? If you do, let me know in the comments. Thank you for spending time with me. Have a good day.